Today we have a story about...
Why don't you have a story about cleaning this place up?
Don't interrupt, bird brain. As I was saying, let's just watch the story.
Frederick Douglass was born into slavery in Maryland. As a child, he was very alert, and his aunt, who could barely read, managed to teach him his ABCs. He tried to read anything and everything he could get his hands on. While still very young, he was moved to a plantation in Baltimore. The owner's wife was a kind-hearted woman, and seeing that Frederick was an intelligent boy, she taught him how to read and write. When her husband found out about this, he was furious. Learning, he said, will spoil a good slave. A slave should know nothing but the will of his master and learn to obey it. When Frederick heard this, he realized that someday he must make his escape to freedom, no matter what the risk. When he grew up, Frederick Douglass had a friend who was a sailor. His friend was willing to lend Frederick his sailing papers in order that he could escape. The papers certified the fact that he was a free American sailor. With these papers, and dressed in the red shirt and bandana of a sailor, he boarded a train for New York.
He wasn't dressed up like that for Halloween, you know. He knew what he was doing.
A short way out of Baltimore, the conductor came into the car to collect tickets and examine the papers of all black passengers. Satisfied that everything was in order, he went on to the next passenger. It was lucky he did, for the person described in the papers didn't resemble Frederick at all. 24 hours later, he arrived in New York, a free man. Luckily, he met a sailor who gave him a place to sleep for a few days. His first job on the wharves was as a ship's carpenter, where for the first time in his life, he received a salary. A new life opened up for him when he was invited to tell the story of his life as a slave at an anti-slavery convention. His talk was such a success that he was urged by the members of the Anti-Slavery Society to join them. He did. In some states, he and his friends were well received. In other states, they were often attacked by angry mobs who were in favor of slavery and who threw rotten eggs at them and beat them severely. But this did not stop him, and he rose to become one of the most important figures in the fight against slavery. During the Civil War, he was asked by the government to help raise a force of blacks for the army. When he spoke, they shouted back angrily that they would not enlist unless Negroes were given the right to fight for their freedom, and they should receive the same pay and other benefits as white soldiers. He went to the White House and had his first meeting with President Abraham Lincoln. He explained to the president the reasons why Negro men were not enlisting, and the president said that he would see that these wrongs were corrected. After the Civil War, he became the first Negro diplomat of the United States and the Consul General to Haiti. Frederick Douglass continued his campaigns for equal rights until the day of his death.
You know, that parrot didn't have a bad idea. This place could stand a good dusting.
Put me down! Let me go!
By golly, for a minute, I thought I'd invented a talking feather duster. The trouble with him is that he has no sense of humor.